This conference will now be recorded.
So, welcome everyone. I'm Len Sierra. This is the Advanced Recurrent and High Risk Prostate Cancer Group for Tuesday, March 23. Welcome. And we're going to start with Bob Warney. Bob, I have a list of questions I'm going to ask you, and if you could just answer the question, don't elaborate beyond that, we'll move through the list of questions, okay?
Right. Len, can I just interrupt? Bob, we know Bob from a couple of our other groups.
Yeah.
And Bob, if I recall, are you recurrent? Your disease came back, did it not?
Yes, it did.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Len. Go right ahead.
Okay, Bob. So, first question: how old are you?
82.
82. You look good.
Thank you.
And where do you live, Bob?
Florence, Oregon.
Okay. And how did you hear about ANCAN?
Oh, I've been with Us Two International since 2002 or 3, and I get it through them.
Very good. And Bob, when were you first diagnosed?
In December 2001.
Okay. Long-time survivor. What was your original Gleason score and PSA level at diagnosis?
The PSA level was 4.1,
Okay.
and it had been 4.1 the previous year. It wasn't going anywhere.
Okay.
Gleason was 3 + 4, 7.
Very good. And which doctor did you see and at which institution?
It was at Oregon Urology Institute in Springfield, Oregon, and my doctor is deceased. It was Peter, and he was assisted by the guy that's helping me. It's still with me right now, Brian Melhoff.
Alrighty. And who is taking care of you now for oncology? Who's your do you have a GU medical oncologist?
No, I am still with the urologist group. It's Roger McKimmey is dealing with me now due to bladder issues.
Okay. So even when you had your recurrence, you stuck with your urologist?
Yes, I did. They had just put in a radiation center of their own, and I was the first one to go through it.
First one to go through the radiology center. Wow, you're great.
They prepped me up for it.
And what type of radiation was it?
IGRT, image guided.
Okay. So it's external beam?
Yes, it was.
Yep.
There was one issue with it because it was like five years after following my prostatectomy in January of 2002, and my intestines had kind of invaded the former prostate area, and so they rolled me over. They said they can't do it through the front. Absolutely. They rolled me over and x-rayed through the back and said, yes, we can do it this way. And so I had my radiation in through the back.
Huh. What was the situation with your intestines?
They invaded the area where the prostate, they got in the way of radiating through the stomach. They dropped or something. I don't know where they went, but they got in the way of
Okay.
at least some organs did, whether it was intestines or whatever, but something was blocking, and they said, no, we can't go there.
All right. So you had a prostatectomy in 2002, and then you followed that up with radiation. What year was that?
That was December 2007 until Valentine's Day 2008.
Okay. And Then you were good for how long before you had your recurrence?
Well, it was 2007 was when when the recurrence said, during this time, my PSA never settled flat and stayed. It would bounce around, and my Dr. Melhoff, who attended our group meeting, said, if you get 3 consecutive increases in your PSA, it's time to do something. You've got something going on. So it just kind of worked out that as I had my 3rd increase, they had their radiation center ready, and that was the recurrence.
Oh, okay. But what I meant was after the radiation, I assume you had another recurrence and that's why you're here?
No, I'm having issues with my bladder, which was affected, was hit with the radiation. We found out probably 9 years later, very slowly and developing. And I went through 40 sessions of hyperbaric oxygen therapy to try to force the oxygen in to heal the bladder. And it did a fairly good job, pretty good job actually, but it didn't solve it all the way. And so I'm with Dr. McKimmey because he is the bladder man at Oregon Urology Institute. And I've been through pills and stuff with him. And what I have, and I mentioned this last evening with the other group, just as we were leaving, that I am now scheduled for April 14th to have Botox treatment in my bladder because I'm getting these urges and that I can't control. So
it's kind of like bladder spasms.
Yes. And so we're going to go this route now and see if we can stop that.
Okay. And this isn't the first time they're doing that either, is it?
It's the first time for me. It's not the first time for them. No.
Okay. And what do they tell you about the success of that treatment?
They've told me it kind of depends on what my issues are. And I've explained them very carefully to Dr. McKimmey. He's been with me several years. When I sleep, I don't have any urge. I don't wet the bed, no leaks there. But if I'm upright, it's like, okay, the base of my bladder is where the damage is next to the urethra, and it just, I can do maybe a little over 100, 150 cc's at the most during the daytime, but at night I can do 250. Depends if I'm laying down or sitting. So Dr. McKimmey explained to me how some guys if you really can't empty, it's probably not going to help you much. But if you've got spasms and that, this is going to help it relax and do that. So he sees me as somebody that could benefit from this.
Okay, it's interesting. First time I've heard of that. I don't know about the other guys.
Now, that's kind of what I was wondering, if anybody else has been through that with this group,
Well, let's open it up right there for everyone else. Anybody know anything about Botox for bladder issues? Anybody even heard of it before?
Yeah, we've had it in the group before, Len. I'm trying to think who and when. I want to say that it was Jim Harrington might have had experience with it. But we've definitely come across it before. I'll look through my notes and see if I'll put in Botox and see. But yes, it's been around the treatment's been around for a long time. What I cannot, I'm afraid, tell you, Bob, was what the outcome was for the last person. But I'll look on my notes, and I can't tell you from memory, but maybe. It was Bill. It was Professor Bill. That's who it was. Yeah. Professor, I'm afraid we can't ask him, Bob, but Professor Bill had Botox treatment to the bladder.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'll report back to you. Then you have something to go on.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it did help Bill a little bit. His bladder was also fried from the radiation. He was BRCA positive. And he has a theory, and we've heard it repeated, that when you have a homologous recombination mutation, that it can lead to more damage from radiation. And so his bladder was fried, and he did have Botox treatment. Let me see what I've got written on that. Yes, in August of 16, he used formaldehyde and Botox, and the other person that had that was Australian Jim Marshall. Jim had also had the same treatment.
Do we know how it worked for Jim?
No, but we could ask him.
Okay, well, this is one of those instances, Bob, where our attendees teach us. I'm afraid we can't offer you any guidance right now, but we'll certainly keenly interested in how this works for you.
Yeah, well, I may offer some guidance. How's that?
Good.
Be
Bob,
great.
this is Peter from last night. When they put a camera up there into your bladder, do they see anything?
They haven't gone in yet with this. We did prior to my hyperbaric oxygen therapy to verify that, yes, I had bladder damage.
Okay, so they actually see damage. They can observe that.
Bladder issues aside, how's your prostate situation going? How's your PSA now?
0.028.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
And so, Bob, does this result in incontinence or just urgency?
Urgency.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
FYI, Jim Harrington did have the hyperbaric treatment several
Pardon
years
me?
ago. I do remember that.
No, that was Venice Jim, who had the hyperbaric treatment for his bladder, Jake.
It was Jim Harrington too, I believe.
I thought it was just Venice Jim, but I can look. And he also had the cataract problem from the hyperbaric treatment.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, have you tried the relatively new? I guess it's about 5 or 6 years old now. Mibetrix. I forget the
Yes.
name of
I've been on it.
Mibetrix.
I've been on it, yes.
Okay.
And this is a step following that.
Okay. On Mibetrix, right.
Yeah. I'm in good hands. It's just my bladder doesn't want to do what it's supposed to.
Anyone else have any thoughts or has suffered from urgency and has any other ideas other than Botox for Bob in this group?
This is Bob Wallace. I'm assuming you've been through all kinds of overactive bladder situations. I was using Vesicare. I've also tried Mibetrix, but it's very expensive. But for the past year, I doubled my Vesicare from 20 milligrams to 40, and it seems to have calmed things down a bit. And I don't know that the typical treatment, I guess, is 20 milligrams, but I was starting to, as soon as it became a generic, it was easy to double up on the dose, and that seemed to be much better than just 20 milligrams. Have you tried anything like that?
I haven't gone that way yet. No.
Is Vesicare the same as tamsulosin, Bob?
Uh,
That's another option.
okay, are you talking to Bob Wallace or Bob Horney?
Bob Wallace.
Okay, and I didn't quite get it. I think that I've had my veteran.
It's not the same thing.
It is not.
Pardon?
No, tamsulosin is Flomax.
Yeah, right. That might work too, and that's also generic.
Well, but it's not for bladder. It's for smoothing out the long muscles in the around the prostate, so that you can it releases the flow of urine through your system. I was on for about 8 years. I was on two Flomax, a night, and I finally dropped it. It was dropping my blood pressure down.
Right.
So I wanted, and I wanted to get on some. Well, it's a long story, but I successfully, got off of Flomax by going to the Tadalafil, which is the generic for Cialis, and so when I bumped it up to 10 milligrams, and I was able to stabilize my blood pressure at a little higher rate than when I had Flomax. So everybody on Flomax has got a problem when they've got get their optical people if they do any kind of surgery on the surface, the cataracts. Your eyes don't behave well if you've been on Flomax, and I was hoping to get off it and maybe enough before I needed cataract surgery, but I've only been off it about 2 years, and I need the cataract surgery now. So I don't think it's going to be a problem though. They seem to know how to handle it.
Hey, hi guys. I was on Flomax for many years, even before prostate cancer, and I did have, it was because of a bladder issue. I had maybe hereditary constricted bladder neck, and I used to take Flomax, but eventually I switched to heart medicine, and I got off the Flomax, and I just deal with the urgency.
So, Bob, Oregon Bob, you had the hyperbaric chamber treatment, and did you develop cataracts as a result?
No. As far as I know, I had no ill effects from it at all.
Okay, good. Did your urologist tell you what the odds are that this will work for you, or what the side effects might be, adverse effects?
Well, he didn't give me any odds on it, but I think he feels that he's of course he'll go in and look first and then go from there. But I think he feels like with what I've gone through, and he said I've explained it very thoroughly to him, so he has a good understanding of what my situation is, that he thinks it will be successful. He wouldn't put me through it if he didn't think it was going to work. I know him very well. I know all the urologists over there quite well, and they're not going to put me through something that they don't have confidence in.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out how this would work, because my understanding of how the bladder works is when it fills to capacity, the muscles in the bladder begin to contract to force out the urine. But if you take Botox, I'm thinking that that's paralyzing the muscle. Did they explain the mechanism of how this works?
Well, it's yeah, it's to temper down the response. My bladder doesn't come anywhere near close to filling
Well,
up.
yes, right.
It's just, you know, if I can get 100 cc's during the day, I can be sitting and get up, and all of a sudden it says, "Hey, you're irritating me. Get this stuff out of here." And it's that irritant that he's hoping to be able to tamper down so that my bladder can feel a little bit better, or I can do a little more of living. You know, I'm not going to go anywhere that I don't know where the restrooms are, basically. And that means if I go shopping, it's just, oh, go shopping, get home. I'm not going to use it. And now with restrooms, a lot of restrooms, no public use of a lot of restrooms in facilities and that, I'm very careful where I go. And it's that instant gotcha that I think he probably wants to paralyze the bladders a little bit and say, hey, you don't need that right now.
Yeah, it's probably a very low dose that just relieves the spasm but doesn't completely paralyze the bladder muscles.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do that because
That's what essentially I just read. That it is there to take care of the spasms in people with experience incontinence.
Okay, thank you, Herb.
So not to prolong this, but as an aside, when I went through radiation at UCSF, my IMRT, 39 days, I had to go upstairs to the urology area and hang out for the whole morning. My radiation was early, and I'd spend about 3 hours every day up there, peeing about every 15 minutes, all that time until I felt comfortable enough to go out the door and walk outside into the city. And now it's resolved. It just resolved by itself. But during radiation, something got stirred up in my bladder, and I just had to constantly go, and I was afraid to go out any place without a bathroom.
All right. So Bob, I assume that you will come back and report in on how you're doing with the Botox, and we'll all learn something new.
absolutely.
Thank you
That's what I've been doing for 20 years, working with the group. I started facilitating the group in 2002 when somebody had to leave, and I told the fellow, I'll take over until you get your house built and you can come back. Well, he got the house built, and then he went off and got a job and said, so it's been mine. And so I'm used to, I'm an old school teacher and an elementary principal, so I'm used to teaching. And so I'll be back and help you out.
We appreciate it, Bob. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on
Len?
to Bob
John
Wallace.
A.
Sorry?
Could I just make a comment, Len? It's John A.
Sure, go ahead.
The topic that hasn't really ever come up is for those guys that are lucky enough to make it 10, 15, 20 years, the radiation.
I think John froze.
Yeah, I think John froze too. But I
All
think
right, John, we can't hear you anymore, John. We're going to move on to Bob Wallace. Bob, you said you had something you wanted to talk to us about.
Yes, it's I'm looking for people who have experienced a situation where they've, had a prostatectomy or some kind of treatment, and then 25 years later are identified with advanced cancer, with the site, the new site being the rectum, and the guy that I'm working with is with a health maintenance kind of place, and they've just identified his situation, but nobody has said, well, I think you ought to do this or that or the other thing. So he's waiting so he can get off of that insurance plan toward the end of the year and get another insurance plan. But certainly I kind of made it my task to go around and see who else that you guys know that the site for your advanced cancer is the rectum. Everybody sees bones and a lot of other kinds of sites for your advanced cancer, but I've never anybody I know has never heard of the rectum being the site. So I was just trying to get some input from some of you guys that have been around here for a while and heard about stuff like that. So I'm that's my quest for the day, and that was my question.
Well, the only times I've ever heard of invasion of the rectum is when it's a new diagnosis and it's metastatic and it's invaded the rectum. So to have this happen many years after a prostatectomy, that's a big surprise to me. Makes me wonder if he got his prostatectomy and he never bothered seeking follow-up care. And, he had gradually over the years had a metastatic condition and eventually it invaded the rectum. I don't know, guys, anybody want to comment?
Have they?
You're very correct about his situation. He hated to talk about it, and it was only when he decided, well, maybe 22 years after his surgery, he went and got a PSA and it was sitting at 150. And so he's using Xtandi to knock that down. But certainly that is some of the same situations. He's had the same kind of groundwork with the way he handled his recovery from cancer, and you just pegged it. Ignored the fact that he had cancer. If he'd had a PSA 15 years ago, he might not have this situation with the rectum.
Did they confirm that the metastasis in the rectum was prostate? Hello?
Bob, did you hear the question?
Did they confirm that the metastasis was prostate? Have they biopsied it?
I'm having difficulty understanding the question, if that was directed toward me.
Yeah, Rick is saying is, did they biopsy the lesion in the rectum to make sure it's actually metastatic prostate cancer and not, for instance, rectal or colorectal cancer?
Excellent question. I should have thought of that myself. Thank you. I don't know what this is an HMO kind of thing where they take care of you. And for general kinds of things, 80% of the cancer patients probably don't have any trouble. But this guy's got a series of problems. He's got a medical oncologist. And this oncologist is well respected out of Sibley Hospital, and she wants to follow his case because she'd never heard of that happening before. So I don't know whether that's an excellent question, and I think that I'll review that with him, but I don't think they did anything.
Right. So
I think they just accepted it.
The follow-up to that question, Bob, is since his PSA is at 150, what sort of scan? And I'm sort of a little reluctant to pursue this because the guy isn't here, and so it's sort of through another person. But the last idea I want to give you, has he been scanned? Do we know the location of all his metastases, because he clearly does have metastasis?
You're muted, Bob.
I'm really surprised that they haven't had any, they haven't gone in there without him asking the question, well, what do I do now? And which I think is a little bit irresponsible. But everybody runs their practice, just very differently, I guess. Anybody that I have ever had for urologist would have been all over that and given me, you can do this, this, and this. I mean, I'm concerned that if he winds up with surgery or anything like that, he's going to have a stoma, and he won't be using, his sphincter is going to be gone. But
who was his doc?
I'm sorry.
Who was his doc?
His doc is one of the urologists at this particular place. They don't have a medical oncologist, and so he had to kind of step out, and because I suggested you've got to see a medical oncologist, and he suggested that to them, and they signed up. I think they get money back if they treat so many patients and they keep the treatment dollars down. It's a financial advantage to the doctors that are practicing in that particular unit. So,
all right, Bob, we're gonna move on because we don't really want to be discussing someone's case who's not even here.
Okay.
Something we never do. All right.
I think that's a reasonable concept. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Frank Fabish, you're up.
Okay, quick update. I've been on Relugolix for now a week in place of Firmagon, and I have no new side effects. In fact, my hot flashes are actually less with it than the Firmagon, and so far it's been successful.
Well, that's good news.
I thought it was excellent news.
Now, did you do an immediate switch from Degarelix to, I'll call it Orgovyx, it's easier to pronounce.
Yeah.
There was no pause in between?
No, I was due for my 28-day injection of Firmagon, and instead I started right into with Orgovyx, and on the day that I was due to get my 6th Firmagon injection.
Okay, well, it's a good start. Keep reporting in and letting us know if that holds true as you go along.
Sure will.
Could I ask Frank a question? If I don't lose my connection again, sorry about last time. Frank, how are you paying for it, if you don't mind my asking?
The VA approved. I'm under the VA coverage. They rejected it the first time, and because I had used Lupron before and had an allergic reaction to it, a pretty severe reaction, they resubmitted it with the evidence of the reaction to Lupron, and the VA came back and approved it.
Thank you.
I have a question also for you, Frank. How are you doing with that metallic taste? Were any of the links we gave you last week of use?
Not that much. They were pretty generalized, and I had tried everything, but I called into my doc, and they have me talking with a nutritionist.
Good.
On the next chemo treatment next week. I have my 5th treatment next week, and I'm going to have a meeting during the infusion with the nutritionist to see what she may recommend.
Did you say I think you said you had tried the mouthwash and it didn't work for you?
Yeah, no, it didn't. They had given me two different ones. One was magic mouthwash, and I can't remember the other one. The other one numbed your mouth.
Okay.
And I tried both of them for about 2 weeks and found that neither had an impact on my taste, reduced it, or made it more acute. So I instead of using those, I just pushed them aside.
What about using plastic utensils? Did you try that?
Yeah, I've been using plastic utensils since my first chemo treatment.
Anything
Okay.
else for Frank?
No, that's all.
I'm talking to the other guys.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to make a quick detour, as long as we're on the topic of Orgovyx, however. John Ivory, you've been on it longer than Frank. So what's your experience so far?
Yeah, my experience has the side effects have been about the same as Lupron for me. The only thing is that I was worried because the reason I switched to it was because my testosterone had been at 41, and after I got my testosterone checked with Orgovyx, it went up to 53. And then my doc had me take another test last week for testosterone, and I actually don't know the differences between the tests, although I was surprised that it was one that Northwestern had to send out to one of those big labs. I can't remember the name of it right now, and it showed that my testosterone was undetectable on that one. So I need to ask what the two different testosterone tests indicate, because if I am above a 50, I'm just going to go back to Lupron. I'll try it another month and see and ask them to do another test, but that surprised me.
John, I'm just curious, and maybe for Frank too, is there, when they give you Degarelix, Firmagon, there's a loading dose that you get the first time. They give you double, maybe even triple the amount in injections. And then there's a maintenance dose, which is lower. Is there any such thing going on with Orgovyx?
Yeah, you take 3 pills the first day and then one following that. It's 120 milligrams, 360 the first day, 120. Sorry, that's too much detail. Just 3 pills and then 1 pill.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Let's see. I've got Carlos Huerta.
Hi, thanks for the time. I just want to give a quick update. I talked to you guys in January, at which point I'd had a recurrence and was restarted on hormones. My initial PSA had gone up to 6.1, dropped down to 3. I happened to sign up for some health insurance process, and they repeated it a week ago. It was at 0.88. So things are moving in the right direction. I also had initiated the use of 0.1 milligrams of estrogen patch, and that has been a godsend to control the hot flashes that I was having with long-term 2 years of the Lupron that had been on previously. What is on the agenda next is consideration of having me undergo Provenge, and I'd like to get some feedback from the group as to what their thoughts are. It's shown some of my information to Rick to get an idea, because there was finally something showing up on biopsy that was actually genetically showing some kind of markers. But those items, I think last time when I brought them up, were nixed because that was pretty much end. I wouldn't say not end stage, but unless you're that far along, I think the general consensus was you may be initiating that process sooner than you need to. So back to the question, Provenge, thoughts on that?
Well, Carlos, my understanding is that Provenge will only be paid for by insurance if you are castrate resistant. It doesn't sound like you are, since you're responding to hormone therapy. So did you have that discussion with anybody? Insurance coverage, because it's expensive.
Yes, no, I have not. The idea had come up, I don't know if you recall, seeing Dr. Scholes in California, and then I live in Arizona, so I've got oncologist here. And there had been some discussion of going with Keytruda on a compassionate basis type of procurement, but that I think has fallen by the wayside since that the Provenge concept came up as possibly an option. But as far as payment component, no, that has not been looked at further.
So, Len, you have to be hormone resistant, but only on an LHRH. So, if you've got 3 consecutive rises, then sorry, let me step back one. Yeah, you have to have 3 consecutive rises in your PSA. I think that's how it's phrased, because we know people who have stopped taking their drugs to get 3 consecutive rises in their PSA, and they've qualified.
Okay. All right. Well, I will bring that up with them and get a little more clarification on what their thought process was regarding that component of treatment.
Right. I mean, it's kind of tricky. So I think that some people, if they're on an LHRH and they have 3 consecutive rises, that's just fine. I don't think they have to be on enzalutamide or abiraterone. I think it's just the LHRH. And we also know people that have stopped taking their LHRH in order to qualify. So,
okay.
But if you're taking a first line and a second line anti-androgen, I don't know how that currently impacts, because at the time when Provenge was, remember, Provenge was approved by the FDA around 2010.
Right.
So at that time, drugs like enzalutamide and abiraterone were really not available. All that was available really was bicalutamide or LHRH or Avodart. And so I don't think that it sort of came into the equation. So most people, if they had 3 consecutive rises whilst they were on an LHRH, they qualified. And then, like I say, we knew folks that manipulated the situation by stopping their LHRH. So it's tricky. Also, Schultz has ways of getting things approved that nobody else does. In terms,
you're right.
And don't ask. I mean, I don't know how he does it, but he does it. All that said, if you could get Provenge now, it would be a great idea. Now, there's probably some guys on this call who have taken Provenge, and maybe they want to speak up at this point in time. Also, they might have some input on what their PSA was doing before they got the Provenge.
Okay.
Anybody get Provenge on the call?
Well, I'd be the one exception, Rick. I actually got Provenge before I went castrate resistant.
Oh, wow.
And they paid for it?
My insurance was Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I'd already met my max. So yeah, it was paid for. I'd stick with asking your insurance company, but yeah, like Rick said, he was pretty instrumental in getting me to do it early in my disease. So if your insurance will pay for it, it's not a difficult process. I would do it. But Len's right. I have a buddy in Australia that did it and came to the United States, and he was told it was going to be covered, but he ended up getting a bill for $272,000 from UCSF.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, actually, I happen to be on Blue Cross as well with Medicare Secondary. So that's been real helpful as well. Okay, side effects wise, I understand most people do pretty well, but I don't know what issues do come up when they come up, because for whatever reason, doesn't matter what I've been on, if there are 12 different side effects, I tend to have 8 to 10 of them.
I think the biggest issue that we've seen, and I'll let Ken talk because he's done it, is one, some people feel pretty fluey after they get the reinfusion, and some people get very dehydrated during the, I think it's during the leukapheresis. And during the leukapheresis, they have to stop, and they have to get a saline. They have to get a saline drip. In fact, I remember certain people who would say after every hour, we just want to stop and we want you to give us saline, and that cured the problem, because we've known a few people over the years that have suffered from dehydration.
Okay, that's a good point to remember then. All right, I will check into that. The other item I wanted to bring up, I had been restarted on enzalutamide, and as I had said before, if the Lupron didn't make me stupid, that one really did, which I recall once I'd been on it for 3 weeks. So it's like, all right, you know what, I'm not taking the 160. I did well when I had dropped down to 120 previously. But so I just started on the 120, but noticing the effect it was having on me, I just started going every other day for about a week, and then finally contacted my doc saying, hey, I've heard about Nubeqa, can we give that a try? And at this point, he's got me on hold. I'm 2 weeks from stopping that. Probably took a better part of a week for my brain to start thinking more clearly. And you may or may not notice I have more fluidity. I don't get stuck on my thoughts as I did when you first met me. So I'm looking forward to trying to get started on Nubeqa. Unfortunately, it's the same thing. They normally don't want you to start on that unless you failed something else. So I may need to do a visit to Dr. Scholes and see what his magic can produce. But thoughts on that?
I would say tell Schultz to tell the insurer that you're not tolerating Xtandi.
Okay. Which is true. Yeah. I was having joint aches and swelling and hip the issues that I had before when I was on all the medications that finally made me stop. So yeah, no, exactly. I just let him know that which is the reason I told my doc I've got to stop this, because it's just the side effects are just already starting to get me to want to quit all this stuff. So let's not get me that far off the edge.
Yeah, I'm taking Nubeqa, have been for about 1.5 years, and huge difference for me anyway. I took it for a while. I told my doc I can't tolerate it. Too much brain fog and fatigue. The Nubeqa completely eliminated the brain fog, and the fatigue wasn't nearly as much.
That's encouraging, because that's the one thing I figured would still come back, but to hear it's not going to be to that degree, I welcome that, just to have my life back and be able to feel like doing things and being active. So great. No, I had heard you speak of that in January, and it was like, okay, and there's a backup if I don't tolerate this well this time around again. Thank you, Len.
Sure.
One last component as far as alternatives.
Hold on a minute. Let's just give David Muslin a voice on the enzalutamide versus the abiraterone, because I think it's a valuable voice. Go ahead, David. Are you there?
How's it? Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Night and day. Night and day. My life was upside down, and it was just as you said. It was just horrible, and it was just night and day. I'm back to, once I got off of it, I'm just totally normal, as normal as normal as I can be. But night and day. I think that makes the point, Rick.
Right. And you couldn't get Nubeqa, but you went to abiraterone, correct?
Correct. Went to abiraterone, and took me about a couple of weeks, and I was defogged and back to as normal as I can be.
Okay.
But I had a terrible time on it. Terrible.
Right. I think that's a helpful input for you too, Carlos, in the event that you can't get to the Nubeqa, and if you want to talk more to David, we'll connect you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Happy to.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so one last item, and this may be outside of the scope just because we're talking about standardized treatments here, but the concept of using more homeopathic type of supplements like phenylisithiocyanate or bromohexene, is that anything that anybody has used or has some words of wisdom about?
I mean, I think I've heard of the bromohexene. I haven't heard of the first one, but it's a long time since we've known anyone raise it, and I'm not sure what the rationale. And I mean, the only thing I would say is be sure to discuss it with Schultz or whoever is your number one guy. You were going to make some efforts to reach out to Mayo and Bryce. Did anything come of that, Carlos?
I took a holiday and spent some time with Peter in Hawaii. So no, that went on hold. That is on the agenda this week. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay. Did he give you any bananas?
No, he didn't. But I ate some kumquats at his place. And
okay.
He's got a nice place. I love it. It's got so much nice growing fruit. It's a great setting.
I think it must not be bananas. Is it banana season there, Peter?
It's always banana season. But kumquats are the cure for prostate cancer.
Oh, okay. Okay, so broxamethine, mothine, he gets kumquats. That's all he needs.
The phenylisithiocyanate is actually a product that comes. It's a chemical that's in all the cruciferous type of vegetables, and so there's been some correlation in the past, but nothing that's ever actually come to market that I know of. And this is basically the isolate of it. It's a liquid that you would self-medicate with, which is meant to induce apoptosis if you have any component of wild type cells that can still do the job. And so the question is, do you have more quickly reproducing non-apoptotic cells? And if you have some that are, can they override that other process? I'm not really sure exactly how bromohexene does its job, but apparently there's some alpha proteolytic cascade that it inhibits. But again, once you're using those not in conjunction with an LHRH, I don't know. I don't have enough background to understand that.
I see Dr. Geller looking at his screen there, so I think he might be doing some research. Are you doing research?
I don't know. I was doing research on something else, but not that. I was doing research on what happens if you eat cicadas. We're about to get invaded with cicadas, and it turns out it's traditional Chinese medicine.
For any particular illness?
A bunch. That's
okay.
Oh, God.
That's an alternative. You understand that they've been using stuff for you know,
Give
many,
us a
many
month.
years, and we just don't know.
Give us a month and we'll send you some.
Okay.
I got a quick half hour on the rowing machine before this meeting. I was listening to the world, and they were saying that they've come up with a system whereby they're paying people in Africa to shake off the locusts early in the morning, because early in the morning these locusts are like Deadsville, and they shake them off onto a mat and they collect them, and then they ground up the locusts into animal feed. So, maybe you can do something with the cicadas the same way. By the way, locusts are kosher, in case you were wondering.
Are cicadas?
They could be.
I got to
Thank
tell
you.
you
I appreciate your input.
I got to tell you that in Missouri several years ago.
Go ahead, Jim. Jim Ward.
I was going to say is in Missouri, probably 10 years ago, there was a huge cicada infestation, and there was a local ice cream shop that made cicada ice cream, and then they got shut down by the health department. So.
Too many bug parts per million.
I think so.
Now, Jim Ward, what you want to know? How do you spell this substance? Was that CICADAS or some other substance?
No, Carlos. How do you spell what you're talking about? Could you put it in the chat?
Yeah, that's it.
I will.
I just poked around myself, Herb. It's bromohexene.
Bromohexene.
It interferes with the TMPRSS2 metastatic promotion. TMPRSS2 promotes metastatic disease and prostate cancer, and bromohexene inhibits TMPRSS2. So
I should try it.
That was what I was looking at was a 2014 Nature paper. It was a mouse model. So I don't know what's happened since then, but needs some more research.
Well, TMPRSS2 is also supposed to have something to do with how COVID gets into the system through the lungs.
Right.
Yep. But it's also involved in prostate cancer metastasis.
I actually just noticed that they're using bromohexene for COVID.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
What if you've already had your shot?
Then you don't know.
Maybe Len can answer.
Maybe we need to move on here, guys. Do you have anything else, Carlos?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, well, so are you taking bromohexene or phenylisithiocyanate?
I am not.
Okay.
But I do understand that there is a minimum dose that you need to have. If you have too little, it's a problem. But you have to have enough to do the job. But nobody describes how much is enough. It's I don't want to say the NIH papers, but it's the cancer website. You can find where the studies were done, but nothing has produced like I said, commercially available type of treatment.
Okay. Well, keep reporting in on that for us.
Yeah. I'll take anybody's input offline. So give me a call if you want.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. We've got Gary Peters.
Len, let's go to Kang because we missed him out last time.
Okay.
And Kang, are you there?
Oh, yes. Hi.
Hi.
I started Eligard injection 2 days ago. I mean, yesterday. It was good for 3 months. And the GU lab test came out. It showed on my chart today the PSA dropped to 0.3 something, 0.36 or 0.37. At the same time, I'm still taking abiraterone and prednisone. Abiraterone was 4 pills in the morning, and prednisone was 1 pill, 5 mg. I think that's what it is. That's about where I am now.
And just to refresh at least my memory, if not anyone else's, what was your very quickly your vital stats, like your Gleason and your prior therapies?
Okay, I was diagnosed December, mid-December. The PSA was 62. Gleason was 4+5. And the doctor back in Mount Sinai said some are 4+5, some 4+4. Most of them are 4+5, but a couple are 4+4. Right before I left China, that was the end of December last year, I had a bicalutamide pill for about a month. A week later, I had an injection of Zoladex. Since I came back to the States, my first PSA, the blood work of PSA was 50 something, was like a 10 points drop. That was done with the PCP, the family doctor. And then after that, there was a few more blood work did in Mount Sinai. And the first one was in Mount Sinai was January the 15th. The PSA was already 13. Somewhere about a month later, the PSA was, I think it's about 5. Right about those time, Mount Sinai ordered a bone scan and CAT CT just to make sure whether they want to give me chemo, or because they need to do that because the only visual I have was the PSMA I brought back from China, so they couldn't be sure, or maybe it's for the recurrence issues. I don't know. But after the 2 visual scan, they barely find much of mets. A doctor said, well, it was because your PSA is already dropped to somewhere about 5. Ken mentioned that to me also, even before the doctor. Ken said, well, if your PSA is that low, they may not find anything. That's exactly what it is. With that PSA at around 5 and 2 scans, one is bone, one is upper body. The doctor decided to put me on abiraterone and prednisone. And I have that started February 20, end of February. Yesterday I had my worst visit with the doctor, and I'm also on Eligard now. So it's the injection of Eligard and the oral pills of abiraterone and prednisone.
Hey, Lynn, can I jump in?
Go right ahead.
Yeah, Kang, I just wanted to say that you should also, when you go in, I don't know when they pull your labs, if they check your T levels, because I think the approach, since you don't have a lot of distant mets of going with Abby and, some LHRH like Lupron, or the other one is the right of choice. But since you're trying to force them both down, and I must say, it's a great number as far as your PSA, because there's evidence the lower it goes, the better you are. So keep working on that. But I'd also asked your medical oncologist to do T level checks, testosterone checks.
Yes, actually, there was a number didn't show up on my chart yet, but the previous test they do have that. The test T level was somewhere around 20, and then 10, and then 5.
Yeah, good.
But yesterday, blood work haven't shown yet. I noticed the bilirubin level is before the abiraterone, the hemoglobin and bilirubin seems fine, seems in the reasonable range. And after abiraterone, that started February 24th, and somehow 10 days later, March 5th, I had the blood work. I think the bilirubin and hemoglobin are I can't remember the numbers, but they're kind of away from the zone. I asked my doctor yesterday. He said, "Oh, that's normal. You will have some liver." I don't know if he used the words damage or maybe inflammation or things like that. He said, "I will keep an eye on it."
I mean, you do have to keep your eye on it, because an increase in liver enzymes is going to force stopping ABI.
He mentioned something like if the number gets, if bilirubin or the numbers get worse, he will have to adjust the dosage. I don't know. I didn't ask what it means, like reduce the 4 pills into 2 or 3.
Well, and then the other question I had for you, when you did your blood work, did you do it fasting or after food?
It was after food. It happened in the middle of the day.
Okay. Because there is this thing called Gilbert syndrome, where if you do your blood work on a fast, your bilirubin can be artificially elevated.
Okay, so if you ate in the morning, you do the blood work during the day,
then the number is what it is.
Okay, yeah. Bilirubin and hemoglobin are yeah. But doctor didn't seem to be concerned. He said I will keep an eye on it, and if the number get worse, we will just adjust the dosage. It's probably the dosage of reduce the abiraterone. I don't know for sure. I didn't even ask.
Who are you seeing at Mount Sinai, Kang?
TSAO, Cao.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He works
I know
with Dr. O, doesn't he?
Yeah, there are 2 more doctor. One is one is Gauski. I noticed those are 3 geo doctors back in the Rotenberg Treatment Center.
Right. Yeah, it's not uncommon to have transitory rises in your liver enzymes and bilirubin when you're on Zytiga or abiraterone. It'll probably go back down, but if not, as your doc said, they'll just adjust the dose a little bit lower. And it's also common for your hemoglobin to drop a little bit, because that's the effect that enzymes have on your bone marrow. So you produce less red blood cells.
I see. So you mean those numbers will kind of bump like ocean waves, up and down, or?
Well, no, not up and down. After a transitory increase in your liver inflammation from abiraterone, it'll probably return to the normal levels, the reference ranges. But your hemoglobin is likely to continue to drop slowly over time.
Okay.
That won't be bouncing back up as long as you're on hormone therapy.
The bilirubin will bounce around.
Not bounce around. It'll go up and then it'll go down and stay down to a normal level.
Okay.
Usually.
Okay, it's good to know.
Yeah.
Say, Len.
Yes.
I don't want to appear out of turn, but I wanted to pick up where Kang left off, because what I had to say basically is on this discussion, because last week when I joined the group, I told you that I too was taking abiraterone for 1,000 milligrams and 5 milligrams of prednisone, along with getting an Eligard shot, 3-month Eligard shot. Well, it seems as though my blood levels associated with my liver function were going south enough that the day after I joined the group, I got a call from my oncologist saying that I should stop the abiraterone at the moment, stay on the prednisone, because, and he also took me off my statin, which also I think dissolves in the liver. So today, when I took my blood tests, it seems as though the trend is going back to normal, but I'm not quite sure what he's going to tell me when I speak to him, hopefully tomorrow morning, about whether to keep on it, whether to lower the dosage or what.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, not everyone's liver inflammation will subside. Some will continue to rise and then they'll take you off.
And
something else.
And what's the substitute for the something else?
Well, you know,
enzalutamide.
Enzalutamide, Xtandi.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is that the abiraterone is absorbed into the body through the liver. So there's a concern about the liver functions. Now, in my own case, I did not do abiraterone, I just did LHRH, but my liver, my ALT and my AST were elevated for 2.5 years. They were right at the limit or a little bit over the limit, but they never went more than that. So, you know, and I didn't do abiraterone, but if your liver cannot handle the abiraterone, then two things occur to me. I'm not a doc. They both should be discussed with your doc. One is maybe if you reduce the dose and took it with food, that might be easier on your liver than just taking it on a fasting without, because there's been a bunch of studies that have looked at taking less abiraterone with food, and it doesn't seem to make much of a difference. The second thing is you use a different second-line anti-androgen that is not absorbed through the liver, and namely one of the androgen receptor blockers like enzalutamide or apalutamide or darolutamide.
Right.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Carlos Huerta, I just got a quick note here. Kang, I had a question. Are you taking the enzalutamide separate from the prednisone? Did I hear you take one in the morning, one at night?
No, abiraterone, then take Abby, 4 pills in the morning. An hour later, I can take 1 pill of prednisone, 5 milligrams.
Prednisone. Okay,
Yeah.
real good. I for some reason I thought you were taking it at night, which I was going to say that's probably going to keep you awake because that's the effect of prednisone. Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, it's morning empty stomach. I was advised.
Kang, was there anything else we could help you with tonight?
Well, it's a good deal of information, and yeah, this is great. I would know better now. Thanks.
Yeah, you're in good hands there at Mount Sinai. You've got a bunch of good GU med-oncs. Don't worry about it. They'll do the right thing.
Okay.
Go ahead,
John. Yeah, just a quick question. My understanding is the reason that we take abiraterone on an empty stomach is because if we take it with food, too much of it gets into our system and can become toxic. So the dose was standardized on an empty stomach. Does that
Correct.
sound right?
Yes, that's correct.
That's absolutely correct. That's why if you want to take it with food, you reduce the dose. And the studies were done. They were found there were very little difference, but obviously Janssen wasn't too pleased about that because they were going to sell a lot less abiraterone, and so it never really picked up. But we know people that have done quite well, like Mark, what with an H, I forget his last name, who joins us occasionally from Kansas. And he's been on low dose abiraterone for years. It just stopped working, but he's been on it for a long time. He's going into a lutein trial right now.
Well, I can say I'm going to do that very experiment because my bill for abiraterone on Medicare is $762. So I'm going to double it. So it's going to cost me $312. But I'm also going to watch my T levels just to make sure that they stay low when I cut the dose in half. So I'll give you a
Ken,
report.
I will take a look, but I thought it was even less than half.
This is cool.
1/4. You cut the dose to 1/4, but you must.
I thought it was 1/4.
I didn't get all that.
It's a quarter dose, Ken. A quarter dose.
Oh. Well, I'll try 250.
But your meal must be the right food. It must be fat-free. I'm not sure exactly what the requirements are, but I have eggs for breakfast on an English muffin, and it doesn't cut it. You have to eat the right food in order for you to take a single pill. I've looked at it, and I was told specifically about that.
I'll do some
It
research
says
before we start.
a low-fat breakfast.
Gotcha.
Mark Finn, the person to talk to is Mark Finn. I'll try and remember to connect you, Ken, or if you remind me, but Mark really knows a lot about the right foods. He's talked about it on here before. And Mark Finn has been on that protocol for ages.
Okay. Let's check in now with Mark Thompson.
He left, Ken. He had to leave early.
Okay.
Len, sorry.
Julian Morales.
Ken's confused here.
Good evening, everyone. I had my biopsy done in February, and it came back with one area they thought it was malignant or something, but nothing was there. They went to the right of the prostate, and they had a Gleason score of 4+4, and carcinoma was present in 7 of the 9 cores of the 50% of the sample tissue cores. And the tumor size went from 0.1 to 0.7 centimeters. On the left side, the Gleason score was 3+3, and that was about it on the prostate. The doctor now wants to proceed with radiation and give me a Lupron shot in about 2 weeks.
Oh, you have to remind us, Julian, if I'm not mistaken, you had focal laser ablation with Walser quite some time ago.
Yes.
And now your disease has recurred, and what you're saying is what they found is another malignancy, but in the prostate gland. And now, or have they found anything outside the prostate gland?
No, they did a couple of scans and found nothing. It's all localized.
Okay, so they found another tumor in the prostate gland, which is 4+4, and they're suggesting that you do radiation on that and also Lupron.
Yes, and start DT.
And how much, first of all, how much radiation? And secondly, sorry, how long for the Lupron? And secondly, are they going to radiate your pelvic girdle?
Yes, they are. They're going to radiate the pelvic girdle with a 46 gray, and then bump it up to 78 when they get to the prostate itself. The urologist is supposed to go in and put markers on the prostate so they know exactly where to do the radiation.
Right, and
MRT, I think.
Right, and how long do they recommend you take the hormone therapy for?
3 months.
Yeah, well, the first thing I'd say to you is that 3 months is not the protocol. I mean, if you look at the protocols for 4+4, and what seems to have been successful, it's a lot longer than 4 months.
Okay.
So I'd be going back and saying, where do you get your 4 months from? 4 months is usually what they do for initial treatment. So you're a little different because this is sort of a recurrence, but initially they would give somebody with 3+4, 4 months, somebody with 4+3 about 8 months, and someone with 4+4 or higher anywhere from 18 months to 28 months, or sometimes even 3 years, but probably 28 months is the outside. So I would really be asking them to show you the evidence that 4 months of hormone therapy is the right number. The reason why I am saying this is because we've seen too many men go through treatment, not do the hormone therapy for long enough, and the disease comes back, and yours has already come back one time. So
right.
I just throw that out to anybody that's to the group, and if anyone else has had 4+4 disease, how long have they taken hormone therapy for when they've been treated? No one. I'm the only one. Well, you can. I mean, there's a lot of evidence. You can look at the at the studies that have been done, and I think you'll see that with 4+4, the wisdom is longer than 4 months.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rick. 18 months is the standard of care protocol for 4+4, 18 months of hormone therapy.
Right.
That's well established.
Well, Rick, I'll speak up. You know, one of my courses is 4+4, and I was on ADT for 2 years before taking a recent break.
Right. Thanks, Jim. Yeah. So I know it's not pleasant. I know you don't want to do it, but if you want to nail this disease, I mean, I did it for 28 months and I've had a durable remission, and I'm very, very grateful for it.
I want to do what needs to be done. You know, that's why, I joined this group to find out what these protocols are, because I kind of get information from my urologist and the oncologist, but it only goes so far. And I say, well, I need to know more.
By the way, are you at a Center for Excellence for Cancer, Julian?
Well, funny you bring that up. I went to MD Anderson trying to get a consult with them, but they wouldn't tell me what they were going to charge me.
Wouldn't it? Are you on Medicare?
Yes.
I don't think coverage would be an issue.
Yeah. I don't think so either, but in
But
the
I
end,
mean, anybody that tells you all you need is 3 months of hormone therapy with a Gleason 8, that's not good advice. I think,
I would agree.
yeah.
100%. I
Yeah,
agree
4
with my
plus 3,
compatriots
and you
here.
want 2 years.
Right. Exactly. At the very
Yeah.
least.
Do you think it's possible they said 3 months and then start radiation, but meant to say continue the hormone therapy?
Is that possible, Julian?
That's probably possible. I may not be listening correctly, but I'll get that confirmed when I talk to her.
Good point, John.
They might just be trying to reduce the size of the prostate.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to reduce the testosterone.
Yep, that too.
3 months for 4 plus 4 is inconceivable to me, just on what I've learned.
Yeah, clarify that with your radiation oncologist, Julian.
Okay, I will. Because I get my, if I continue on this path, I get my first, get a Lupron shot in about 2 weeks from today.
Okay, are they giving you bicalutamide or Casedex before your Lupron shot?
No.
Well, if it were me, I'd be changing my doc just on that.
Right.
Again, it's standard protocol, Julian. The reason is because the way that Lupron works, it causes a spike in your testosterone before the testosterone drops.
That's what he told me.
There's always the slight problem that you might have micrometastasis they cannot see, and that spike in the testosterone could cause that metastasis to grow quickly, and if it's in your spine, it can have adverse effects, and that's why when they first saw this, they give you a drug called bicalutamide or Casedex, which is an androgen receptor blocker.
That's the other part. I was just now reading. That's the other part of the Lupron. That they do give me that, what you said, that bicalutamide.
Yeah, if I can just jump in here.
Hold on 1 second. Are they giving you are they going to have you take bicalutamide for 2 weeks before your first shot?
I don't know for sure. I'd have to call them up and ask them.
Okay, well, if it were me, I would not get a Lupron shot without having first taken the bicalutamide, if it were me.
Okay.
Yeah. From my experience, the other recommendation would be to get a shot of Degarelix, because that drops your testosterone in a matter of a week, and you don't get the spike. But then, because that's a once a month dosing, then you can switch over to Lupron and just get a shot every 3 months.
Exactly. Great point, Dr. Carlos. Yeah, you can go with a different type of LHRH, what's called an antagonist, like Degarelix or Orgovyx, and then you don't have to worry about the bicalutamide.
Or you don't have to worry about the Lupron either.
If
you're on on Orgovyx.
Right.
Additionally, just because of my experience, and I ended up with prostatectomy, and the next step was going to be to go ahead and get radiation, since there had been extracapsular metastatic lymph node. And I was like, well, how do you know there's not more? And it's not in other places. So I ended up getting additional studies. But now that the PSMA study is out, I encourage anybody who is needing to stage, do that, because it tells you soft tissue, bone. It will give you something from the top of your head to the middle of your thighs. If it's there, it will show if it's going to be big enough, which is anything bigger than probably a half centimeter. I'm not sure how small the tumor it will actually find. Additionally, I can tell you that the Degarelix is covered by Medicare, And once Medicare gets their process in place, you may find out that it may already be there because they cleared it in December. That the PSMA PET scan is also covered by Medicare.
Can you spell that drug for me?
Sure thing. I'll put it on the chat line.
Thank you.
Julian, are you all set? Can we move on?
Yes, please move on. Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Rick, by the way, I did send my slides over to Dr. Epstein for review.
Oh, good. Excellent.
And he responded. He said, okay, we'll take it from here.
Oh, good.
All right. My good buddy, Peter Kafka, please, your turn.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up quickly on this discussion because last week or the week before, when Frank was speaking, I kind of jumped in a surprise when he talked about his white blood count being high, because mine's the opposite. Although it's kind of in the normal range, but low normal. But my concern, and I've started doing some research on it. Is there anybody who's on ADT for any length of time not have anemia? You know, not have hemoglobin in the 10 range or lower? I mean, does anybody have normal red blood counts with ADT?
Well, Peter, mine has never gotten below 11, but that's still slightly anemic. Yeah. I mean, I started off at 15, so.
Yeah, and Peter, I can say mine's the same. It started at 13, and I think the last one had it at 10.9, but I've had 15 rounds of chemo.
Right. Yeah, I've been hovering around 10, 9.8, that kind of stuff for a long time, for years actually. And I'm just curious because, you know, I know that it is the ADT, and I'm taking iron and all this stuff that isn't going to make a difference. I just wondered, you know, when I read the research, it says, you know, maybe 30% of men have that kind of reaction to ADT, but it seems to be a lot bigger number than 30%.
I've been on Lupron for over 2 years, and my hemoglobin A1C is 5.4.
No, that's different, Jeff. We're not talking about.
That's what I thought. I was wondering if it specifically says here hemoglobin. That's why I'm under my TEPS results, but I didn't think A1C was correct.
Right. Yeah, that's a measure of your average glucose levels for the past few months. It's not related to the blood hemoglobin from the bone marrow or from red blood cells.
Right. Peter, this is Jake. I'm on Lupron, have been forever, and I kind of float in and out on the anemia scale. Sometimes it's on the low side, other times it's on the normal, and I don't know why it changes, but it does. It's not always low.
Right.
If that helps.
So my question is, you know, that I think the fatigue factor is, in my situation, the low hemoglobin. I mean, that's what's going on. I mean, I don't take naps anymore. It's been years since I've had to take naps, but I get exhausted trying to do work and so forth just because of the low blood count.
How low is your hemoglobin?
I just checked. My hemoglobin is 11.5.
I'm 11.3. I was 14 when I started Lupron.
Right. And
I
I'm
feel
looking
great.
back.
I don't know.
And the highest it ever got I ever had back was 14.6.
We're similar, Herm.
Right.
Okay.
But I don't.
I don't want to be labored. I just want to get a feel for what people's experience is. So generally, it's on the low side because 14 is about normal.
All my counts are low.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, mine too.
So Peter, what are you thinking about doing as far as enhancing your hemoglobin? Taking like additional blood? Or?
No, I either live with it or get off ADT, and that's pretty scary.
Oh.
You
Hey,
know,
Peter, this is Jim. I just posted an article on the chat, and there's an excerpt. There's a quote in there that says that decreased hemoglobin levels can be seen in up to 90% of patients receiving ADT.
yeah. And you know, Peter, one thing I don't want to sound like the old broken record. I was hoping that Jimmy G would jump in with this one. Is getting your old heart rate up every day, because the more you get your heart rate up, the more you oxygenate your blood, and the more you oxygenate your blood, the better your hemoglobin. So
I know. I was doing yard work for 2 hours before the meeting started today.
It's not the same. It's not the same. Don't give me the old yard work excuse.
Rick, if you're talking about me, I gotta say something.
Okay.
I worked for 2 hours. I climbed some hills where my heart rate is 150 for 50 minutes, 50.
Wow.
And that got my attention. But that's what I've been doing because I have my sphincter surgery. I can't lift. So all I can do is walk. So I walk with a weighted vest of 30 pounds on it. I'm not suggesting that to anybody, but in order for me to work hard enough that I get my heart rate up where I want it, which is 140 and above, I have to push.
Jimmy, what's your resting heart rate?
Oh, between 55 and 60.
Yeah, because my resting heart rate is 49.
Oh, good for you.
Wow.
Only for you.
So for me to get it up to that rate, I can't get it up much above 122, 123.
That's okay. It's all relative. You've got to get it up where it's pounding away, and you can't have a comfortable conversation with the person next to you, and that's what you got to do.
Mine won't go past 150. 152, 153 is maxed out, and only 10 years ago I could go to 170. So you just get older. Your maximum heart rate. Right. I mean, it's the calculation is 220 minus your age is your maximum heart rate. So for the Otacakas on this call, like Herb and me and Peter, we have a much lower max than some of the younger guys. But Peter, you're at you're what, 73, 74? What are you?
74.
74.
74 this year.
150, 146 times 8. I mean, you should be getting to be around 120-ish. If you can get it up to 120-ish and hold it there, you do it. That's what you want to be. 8 4s are 30. No, sorry. 112.
Yeah, I can do
112.
I can do that. It's just exhausting, and I do push it sometimes. And even doing yard work, I can push it and get pretty exhausted.
Okay, but if you hold it up there, start for 5 minutes holding it at 112 and then work it up. And I have a feeling that you will see your hemoglobin increase. Try it.
I will.
I have one more suggestion too. Anybody who's having trouble getting the inspiration or wondering how they're doing, because we don't know a lot of times, how, if we're pushing it or not, how far to push it. I have a heart rate monitor. They're not expensive. You don't have to get the fancy Fitbit or anything like that. You can get something that pairs with your phone, and you can monitor your pulse rate through your whole workout. And you can look at it every once in a while and see how you're doing, and it shows at the end how you did. I need that because sometimes I don't know where I am.
There's one right here that a friend of mine gave me. I haven't used it. It just goes up right on your wrist.
Good stuff.
Polar Loop 2.
Rick, we have someone named Gina just joined us. Is that the next group after we're done here?
Yes. So, folks, if you're here for the multiple sclerosis group, it starts at 30 minutes past the hour, wherever you are, 8:30 Eastern. So you're welcome to stay, but that group, the multiple sclerosis group, will start at 8:30 Eastern, Come on back. You're very welcome. Or stay.
Hey guys. Hey guys, it's David Muslin. You know, I work out pretty good, as everybody knows, at least most of you know. And I just got my blood work back, and my hemoglobin is a 12.8, and it never dropped in the red before. Is this something to worry about, or just watch it the next time I get my blood work?
Well, like you said,
David, I would just watch it.
Therapy, the more likely it is to drop gradually. It's not going to be a plummet.
Right.
So, I mean, how long have you been on hormone therapy, David?
14 months.
Okay. You know, hopefully you won't be on it for
Right.
a long time, but if you are, you'll probably dip below 12 at some point.
Okay, so it's normal. It's the first time it hit the red, so I don't know where it's been. Okay.
That's not bad, actually.
After 2 years on Lupron, I was just checking my hemoglobin, and it went down to as low as 13.2, 13.8, went up to 14.1. So it recovered what it was a couple of years ago. I guess, I don't know if everybody has that, but it can happen that it goes down and comes back up.
No, you're lucky. I mean, mine was low the whole time. Guys, we're getting to the witching hour, and I've got 3 announcements I want to make.
Well, Rick, can we get Rusty in? Rusty's the only one I haven't gotten to yet.
I think Rusty's left.
Okay, then go ahead.
Okay. But I do want to get this in before people start dropping off at the top of the hour. First of all, tomorrow night, one of our very own is going to be treading the planks in the footlight, performing in our debut The Marsh Ancan video performance, scheduled for 7:30 Pacific. We'll be sending out as soon as one of our own has actually put the stream connection and everything else right there. And as soon as he approves, I'm going to be sending out a mailing on that too. We are very excited, and we need more performers going forward. We have a couple of volunteers, but we need more performers because we're in this for the long haul. Number 2, next Monday night, we don't have a meeting because it's a 5th Monday, but by popular demand last week, we bring to you, at your very request, Dr. Richard Wassersug, who is going to talk about the use of estrogen as a hormone therapy. He's been on estrogen 100% for 20 odd years. We have had meetings with him. He's coached a couple of the guys. And since people wanted to know, well, what are the pros and the cons? Richard very kindly agreed to come in next week and to talk to us about using estrogen. And so get all your questions together. Come on back. We will send out a reminder at the end of this week, early next. It's not a webinar. It's really more a discussion. He'll do a little presentation, but we're going to have, it'll be moderated. I forget who's going to moderate it. I think we said Len and Herb, I can't remember, but it'll be moderated. We'll all chip in, and we're here to discuss the pros and cons of estrogen therapy. And by the way, there was just a paper came out in the Lancet last week showing that with the patch, there doesn't seem to be any adverse cardiological CVD effects. That's the second thing. And next week on the 31st, Wednesday, another one of our own, the gentleman with the lovely lilac purple shirt on your screen, will be appearing along with some other venerable people talking about inherited mutations. We're not going to this is not a technical call. It is about how families deal with inherited mutations. It's a topic that strikes very deeply into the hearts of some of us here because we have seen the ravages that an inherited mutation can cause on a family. And we are going to have family members, not just from prostate cancer, ovarian cancer, four different pairs. And Lindsay Byrne, some of you, I know John, I think John A was on that call. She's a genetic counselor from Ohio State. And if she's stopped grieving over their loss in the NCAA, she's showing up a week on Wednesday to moderate that discussion. So those are the three things. The march tomorrow, estrogen next Monday, and inherited mutations a week on Wednesday.
I put a link in the chat box on the webinar for the 31st.
Thank you.
Because you need to sign up for that, guys. It's not this call. It's a separate web address.
Right. It's on the Marsh stream. It's their streaming platform. I think it is a Zoom stream. And the estrogen will be on right here. The inherited mutations will be on our GoToWebinar platform.
Right. That's the one I just posted.
Right. You have to sign up for that one.
Rick, I tried that link and it seemed to be a dead link when I tried it.
Hold on, at a time. John Ivory, go ahead.
Yeah, Jake, I just clicked on the link you put in there and it gave me a dead link.
It doesn't work.
I ditto that.
All right, well, he's working on that. Let's hear.
We can get it from the email.
I'll get a link that I think does work. So second person, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gary.
I was going to ask for anyone who has had radiation therapy and had to go through the preps like the regular bladder prep. Do you know if it's acceptable to drink something other than water if you have trouble getting down large quantities of water? Like, can you substitute Gatorade for water, or does it have to be water to fill your bladder?
As far as I know, it could be any fluid, except maybe beer or wine.
I think you have to be careful about the color of the fluid, if I remember correctly. So it could be Gatorade, but check on what color.
Okay, go with the lemonade.
Yeah.
Okay.
As clear.
Guys, I put a corrected link in the box. Please check that to make sure it works.
It works. It works, Jake.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And also, I was wondering if at a future meeting, maybe Rick or someone else could sort of walk through that. If you take a reduced dose of abiraterone with food in the morning, exactly what sort of food is acceptable and what isn't. We sort of went back and forth with that conversation, but I wasn't sure that there was actually a protocol that anyone had agreed on.
It's a low-fat diet.
Gary, it says a low-fat diet, a low-fat meal.
Yeah. Len usually recommends oatmeal.
Right. Oatmeal, cereal.
Well, no, oatmeal doesn't have fat, but peanut butter. Take a tablespoon of peanut butter with, toast or something.
Isn't that high fat?
Well, it's only a tablespoon.
And
You know,
so
but there's
low
no
fat and how many pills?
One.
But Gary, before you do this on your own, you should do some reading of some articles. And
check with my oncologist, right?
And check with your
Yeah,
oncologist.
definitely check with your oncologist.
Absolutely, yeah. Don't be reducing your abiraterone dose without talking to your.
Right. I would not do this without consent.
Got it. Thank you.
Janssen's losing too much money on this reduced dosage. They
Well,
can go into the TV dinner and TV breakfast business as well.
Generic now.
It's already generic. Abiraterone is generic. It has nothing to do with Janssen anymore.
Well, wait for the estrogen patch. No one needs to take Lupron anymore.
Right.
Yeah. You know, if I were Richard Wallace, I'd be getting myself a bodyguard.
Well, I don't know that it's all. You know, as I will say next week, there's no such thing as a free lunch with drugs. There's no.
Don't shoot the messenger. We're gonna have the man on here. You know, Dr. Richard Wallace, who has a very long and knowledgeable history and is familiar with most of the studies, has written the books, and let's
see what he has to say.
And then we'll open him up to the Ancan artillery.
So, Rick, are you going to put out a blurb on that, by the way, for the 29th?
I will, but I'll probably do it earlier, probably the end of this week or over the weekend, just, closer to the time.
Okay, I'm getting the high sign, guys, so I gotta go.
We should also mention that PCRI is doing their mid-year update on Saturday. Saturday, whatever time, morning, afternoon, whatever, with Moyad and Schultz. And also Dr. Thomas Hope.
Can you send that link out to everybody, Peter? Or
It's
send it to Rick?
PCRI.org. PCRI.org.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I just, again, everybody, a happy Easter, and I wish you all also a very good Passover, because by the time we meet next, we'll be through Easter and in the middle of Passover.
Same
right,
for everybody from
me. Very
me.
much. Have a great week. Thanks for participating. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night. Good night.